even led into my relationships. And there was just so much that I didn't realize or even was aware of that I needed to fix about myself.
Sometimes the storms we face shake everything we thought we knew about ourselves, but they also uncover a deeper truth of who we really are. Today's guest, Charles Hoare, knows this firsthand. After walking through his own seasons of struggle, Charles felt called to build something bigger than himself. In 2025, he founded Crown and Compass Coaching and Consulting, a faith-based company dedicated to spirit-led transformation, emotional healing, and authentic leadership development. Through Christ-centered and trauma-informed coaching, Charles helped people uproot false beliefs, rebuild their confidence, and step into leadership rooted in wholeness instead of hustle. His work is all about helping people to see that storms may shape us, but they don't define us. Charles, welcome to Positive Vibes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being here. So glad.
You're welcome. So, Charles, can you take us back to a chapter in your life where you found yourself wrestling with lies or false beliefs about who you were?
hmm Um, I had to acknowledge it at first, and this was back whenever I first got with my wife, um, and we were actually kind of staying at my mom's house. We had had a bunch of like storms, so to speak, going on around us. It was just we were falling into things. Like we had plans, but they would just fall through, and I was wondering why and how all this worked out. And then I was trying to help my mom, but so she ended up being a hoarder, and um, we were living in a pop-up camper outside of our house,
Mm,
like two-story house. Like it still needed work. It was under construction somewhat, but it was like full of just stuff. She couldn't live in it. Backyard and everything was just overgrown, and I mean she needed help, honestly.
mm,
So I started to help her, and then I started talking to a therapist at that same time, wanting to get her help. And I started out, with good intentions, but then I realized it was more about me.
mm,
I realized that like I was projecting and wanting to fix her, and and even led into my relationships, and there was just so much that I didn't realize or even was aware of that I needed to fix about myself. Um, so I was very narcissistical. I had cheated on my wife for a long time, even when we first got together, and I realized that I was seeking validation and approval from my
mm,
mom I never got. And then also I was taking things out on women based on how I felt about my mom subconsciously, deep, deep down.
mm,
So I had to deal with all that anger and grief. And I mean, I'm talking about like a lot of unpacking, but
mm,
there's a lot of struggle that came with that. So, I mean, it's been a long journey for the past 5 years, basically six now. And me and my wife, we're
mm,
thriving. We got two babies. We travel for my job now, and I get, paid to go to Air Force bases and weld. And at that time, I was a CDL driver hauling hazmat chemicals. So, I mean, that's why I say God had to take care of me in that way and lead me because, I mean, I started applying His truth to a lot of those lies in scriptures to what I thought about myself, and
mm,
it ended up being more of a reparenting relationship with God.
mm. Thank you for being so honest there and sharing your past there, Charles. Just to
Mhm.
go a little bit further about those beliefs. So, how did the beliefs shape the way you showed up in your relationships, leadership, or even faith?
Mhm. So for me, I realized that it was a multifaceted, so to speak. It
Mm,
targeted different areas of my life, right? So, um, in my faith, it made me show up more of in performance. So I was thinking I had to perform. So the religion aspect of it, so to speak, right? The legalistic values. I have to do this to earn X, or Y, Z, like, and then it's like it. One thing that really helped me in this whole process for all of this, how it showed up in my relationships, was that if I'm not loving someone, I forget the exact term, but basically, um, in order for it not to be a barter system where I'm just exchanging goods for
mm,
services or even just like feelings for this and that and how I show up, we have to have that forgiveness, grace, love, and mercy. And um, I had to forgive myself.
Mm.
and then accept forgiveness because those lies that I believed made me self-sabotage.
Mhm.
They made me have imposter syndrome. They made me like I didn't feel like I was worthy or valuable
Mm.
of actual love because all I had received or even given was manipulation or deception or gaslighting or love bombing or like any of these things that we come to know as what the healthy part of what being or instead of being a narcissist, right? The unhealthy
Mm.
version of what this is. So I showed up in a lot of different ways, but I could only do that once I started being humble and I
Mm.
allowed God to break me. Like I'm talking about like when I went to church in front of my religious family and community, and I'm just like laying down at the altar, like bawling my eyes out because like I'm just like trying to connect with God in that way, right? It's like a sense
Mm.
of awe, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I had to definitely give my all to him, but then move in that direction as it was true, as if it
Mm.
was like so. Um,
Yeah.
but so I'm not sure if I answered that question. I know I kind of went on a little
No, no,
tangent, but
no, that's all good. So just further on that, you just mentioned that you were laying on the altar, crying. When was the turning point you realized that you needed to start replacing the lies with truth?
um, it would really be when I mean, because I was struggling with this, right? I was going back and
Mm.
forth because I didn't realize subconsciously that I believed these things
Mm.
until I started digging in and doing the work, right? So I would study under Tim Fletcher on YouTube. And I would really like he broke it down in a sense to where like this was like hitting home. Like,
Mm.
I mean, to the point where like I was driving my truck, I'm sitting there bawling my eyes out and I'm working, like I'm going dry and I'm blue collar, right? So like, why are you crying, dude? Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm in the refineries and the plants getting out of my truck, going to like work on sulfur and pour it in my truck. And I'm like bawling my eyes out from listening to a little Tim Fletcher series, or even like when I'm praising and worshiping and like, like, but it was that relationship, right? Because am I just having this conversation with myself? Like, or am I just like breaking this down in my own thoughts? Like, we need people to help us. Like, I
Mm.
mean, we can't carry that by ourselves. So truly like connecting with Christ or even like that worshiping sense of like who God is, right?
Mm.
Because it was really a breakdown of identity ultimately like not only what I believed about myself, right, the lies or the truth, but also what's my source,
Mm.
like love, truth, wisdom, healthy, unhealthy versions. How I come to know it now would be like if I'm eating 300 pounds of lard, I'm gonna be fat. So it's a simple term is to like there are consequences to what we do, but
Yeah.
it doesn't precede relationship.
Yeah. And I'm just picking up on something that you said in regards to healing. A lot of people try to heal by themselves, but they really can't out there. It takes something or
Hmm.
a belief or a community or someone to help them get through that. So yeah,
Hmm.
that resonated with me, and I'm sure it'll resonate with a lot of listeners out there. So Charles, you've
Yes.
said that that what we believe shapes everything, our leadership, our love, and even our peace. Can you share how you help people uncover the lies they're living with?
So basically gently confronting issues and giving a different perspective. Um, so for example, I'll walk with people and it depends on the character of the person in a sense, but ultimately when I'm breaking it down, um, I have to listen a lot. Like
Mm.
it's a lot of listening because most of the time we have to get it out.
Yeah.
And then to even have make some kind of impact, we have to be able to not be carrying anything,
Mm.
because we'll carry so much if we don't get it out. Or even just like, because I know for me, for a fact, like overcoming that myself was I was never heard. So
Mm.
it made me more angry. And then that made me not want to listen to anyone else. So to even be changed myself, I had to get that out. And so that's what it, is working to is just being a safe place,
Yeah.
letting someone feel authentic, letting someone feel autonomous in themselves, and then like the fact that like now they can actually be who they're supposed to be and like give space to that. So,
Mm. So you've done a lot of work with a lot of people. What are the most common lies people carry without even realizing?
Oh man, I'm unworthy
Mm,
would probably be one of the biggest ones because and it disguises itself as maybe the opposite. Like like sometimes we'll be like so man, for example, being hypercritical,
yeah.
like always judging other people is because we judge ourselves, or even like trying to promote our like not promote ourselves, but like um we'll be overconfident in something to prove to ourselves that we are this thing when we're still struggling with it or we can't like we don't have it. Or like if we're angry in a sense, like for me myself, right? Like something I've had to overcome and then I've dealt with as well, like and I've seen it in my own parents, was the fact that like angry that I don't think I can be this way, but someone else is. And
Mm,
like you want that. So almost like envious in a sense.
yeah. Hmm. That's really good words there to think about, and what you've said there is probably going to resonate with a lot of people of their actions and why they're doing that. So thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
So Charles, how do you guide someone into rebuilding their identity with truth and wisdom?
So and I have to take it from two different standpoints because I help people that are also unbelievers that want to, and then
Mm-hmm.
also believers strengthen their identity because I work with people this way, and this is how I confront it: is some people believe or say they believe something, but they don't.
Yeah.
Then other people say they don't believe something, but they're actually struggling too. So they will test it. They will fight it to the very end for it
Mm,
to know that it's real, right? We all struggle with trust. Um, so a false trust or a false guilt, a false sense of whatever that might be. So I
mm,
have to lead them through their own realization of what they don't actually believe that they think they do,
mm-hmm.
and then what they actually do, but they're struggling with. And what's crazy is I watched anime, and there's a couple animes that really stick out to me, and it's helped me when I'm doing it with people. Is I'll try to make references, or I'll even talk about other things, so it brings
Yeah.
some of the walls down, and they don't feel so defensive. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but like it's different characteristics and dynamics of like, you know, um, I don't know if it would really resonate, but Naruto Shippuden. Uh, it's basically an example of these two kids that grew up without a family, and one's fighting for this and one's fighting for that, but they're both coming together. They were part of the same team. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the very show and whatnot, they both are like duking it out. They both lose an arm. And he's like, I don't understand why you fought for me so hard. And he just simply looks over me and says, because you're my friend. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really that simple fact that like sometimes we're avoidant, sometimes we're anxious, we could be disorganized, we could be fearful. Um, so what are we truly afraid of? It
Yeah.
is really the whole root of what I try to get to with someone. So it's a process of kind of working that out. And we all fight it. We
Yeah.
all do to a certain degree. So
Yeah. And Charles, you founded Crown and Compass with the idea of leading from healing, not from
mhm.
hustle. Why is that distinction so important?
Because I feel like we all get in front of ourselves, or even whenever we
Mhm.
like, for me in my life, it really came to this. I feel like, sorry, I don't know if you heard that. That's my son.
No?
Okay. So from leading, right? Why are we seeking a leadership position?
Yeah.
Is it because we want the authority? Right. I mean, I feel like we have a lack of leadership just as a whole.
Hmm.
Like, because leadership requires more responsibility and accountability. It requires like stepping up to the plate and, you know, helping other people. And I mean, it should require more of us. And I've seen too many people step into positions and then not do anything with it. And I feel like sometimes it serves a purpose because there does have to be a gap for someone else to fill. But how are we not instilling confidence so that they can fulfill that gap?
Hmm.
Or even competence. You know what I mean? So for me, that's what's led me to. get into this is because in my life I've experienced a lot of that. I've experienced some good ones,
Yeah.
um, but in that same aspect, it was ultimately why are we doing it, and what are we wanting from it?
Hmm.
Because the motivation behind even like a question is extremely important, but because what answer we're going to get from that,
Yeah.
especially with confirming bias, justification, and negativity biases.
Yeah. And just on the leadership that you mentioned, what does authentic, faith-rooted leadership look like in action?
Honestly, I try to embody it as best I can, but to me, it was Christ.
Mm,
It was Jesus's example, and I understand that some people have like a religious um outlook in a sense, and they might be stirred away from that. But um, I say this to all of this as well, right? So if I was growing up my whole life and I didn't know what true love was, or it was given to me in a distorted or corrupted way,
hmm
the real version of that's going to seem uncomfortable, or at least it could seem like bad at first, because that's exactly what happened with me and my wife. I thought that she was the way my mom was.
hmm
And if we have this entire experience on earth of not being able to have that fully, right? Because that's what trauma is. It's
mm
lack of needs being met. And then we form a coping mechanism to get that need met. And then now we think that's how we're supposed to do it. And
mm
that's how addictions are formed. That's how like
mm
negative things end up happening and we grow from it. So all our beliefs compound from one simple root. So we have to pull the strand back gently. And sometimes we need people to do that. And I think the best leadership is leading by example of being humble, kind, gentle, peaceful, listening more than responding, and giving someone that space to be confident that they can do the work themselves. But sometimes they also need to see that done.
mm
So we definitely need to be more regulated, safe places, and be whole in ourself so that we're not projecting our wounds onto someone else and then
mm
spreading that pain because everything comes from downhill,
mm.
especially in leadership.
Yeah. Some wise advice you've provided there, Charles. So you've talked about yourself and about how you've healed yourself. Can you share a story of someone who began leading differently once they let go of the lies and leaned into the truth?
hmm I would say it starts in the home.
Yeah.
And so God had to work on me so that I could lead my wife better.
hmm
And because we're equals.
hmm
But Jesus said, if you want to be great amongst you, you will serve, you will be the least. So, so I've seen my wife blossom. I would say that just starting out because that's the first place that it should be, right? Is that I've seen my wife step into more of who she can be as a person and leader in our home and a person in our family and a leader of our kids and even like it's a garden.
mm
Like you get what you get from it, but that doesn't mean you try to pull it. You will uproot it. You know what I mean? And then like you got to
mm
start over. So it's definitely more tenderness and kindness than
mm.
it is advice.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just sitting there and okay, or just simple an apology. I'm sorry, and then
Mm.
change behavior. Right?
Yeah.
Like because it's not always just about being right. And this is extremely hard and this is why I say I try, because it's extremely hard to do all the time. But we're trying to get consistent with that.
Mm.
And I use that reference because that's the best and
Yeah, the best
the
analogy. Yeah.
most rewarding and the best that, because I mean, I've told people before, like, it doesn't matter how many people I affect if my home is destroyed. So,
Mm, yeah. And you're so right there in regards to the way you show up is the way others will show up for you in that space. So, and also right about that you got to keep trying at these things because something that you've been conditioned to your whole life isn't something you're going to turn off overnight. And those
mhm.
things can come through now and again, but it's about, catching it when it happens and and calling it out and then redirecting
Hmm.
yourself into that right space. So your faith, how has that shaped the way you walk through storms in your own life now?
Realizing that my failures, the situations, circumstances, the storms,
Mm,
it doesn't define me, right? Like I am who the I am says I am because I know whose I am, and that's a child of God,
mm,
right? So, and regardless of how old I get, just like with my parents, and the kids I have, like they're always going to be my kid. I'm always going to love them, and I'm always going to be there for them. So, a perfect father demonstrating perfect love, regardless of my failures and flaws. So that's how it's led me, but also in the simple fact that like hope.
yeah.
There was another anime I watched, and um, it's crazy. Once again, how God he showed me all that. I mean, I studied neuroscience, psychology, and all that, but like my anime like really hit me. Anime
Mm,
and my faith. But it was this one character, and he like receives these powers, and then the other one receives the. It's one for all and all for one, basically,
hmm
for reference. And then it shows a scene of him, and he's like, and all the past recipients, right? It was a passed down trait. And
hmm
he was like, are you going to be able to do what you need to do in the time that whenever you need to do it, like basically take him out? And he's like, if I have to, I will, but I'm going to do everything in my power to save him because it's not his fault. It's
mm,
not his fault. Like, and he's like, I'm going to save that little boy. And he's like, because that's what happens. And like that, like oh man, it, in my spouse and my wife now, I had to realize that I'm not like, she's not what she's doing right now. She feels this way and she's been subject to something and just like I have. And it's like, my little kid's at war with her little kid, and it's so beautiful in aspects because she's also a child of God,
mm,
and like if I say I have the love of God but yet I hate my brother and sister, right? Like I'm a liar.
mm,
So it's very humbling in the fact that like if I'm not living what I say I live to that degree, then it's worthless
mm,
in a sense. Not that I'm worthless, but what I say, like my character, my name, like who I am. Right? So it's like it requires more of us. It really does.
mm,
And even with that aspect, real quickly, I would say that you can lead from behind.
mm,
You can lead from the front, and you can lead from the middle. I mean, I have to get out there and work with my buddy, at my job. I'm still a blue collar worker. I'm a welder, and I still have to get out there and get dirty with him, so he can see that I live my life. I live this way.
yeah,
I'm not any better than him, and like even if I get a raise later on, like I understand, you got to delegate, but
yeah.
get your hands dirty, lead by example.
Yeah. And just further on that, what does the emotional healing play in becoming a stronger leader, partner, or parent?
Hmm. You can't be soft if you've always had to be hard.
Mm,
And like if we're always independent, we'll always be independent. Um, we avoid our emotions because we don't want to feel them. Like your brain doesn't understand the difference between physical and emotional pain.
mm,
So what we have to realize that in order to be soft, we have to feel our own pain. We,
mhm,
we have to understand. I mean, we can't really have, I mean, there's actually neuroscience behind it, but if we are caught up in chaos and um, cortisol stress and all of these things repeatedly, we're going to be desensitized to empathy and
mhm,
compassion. So, like, a lot of that stuff goes out the window whenever we don't take the time to pause and feel and then release. Like that's why grief is extremely important.
mm,
Like grief is extremely important because if we don't ever let go of anything, we're going to be carrying too much, and then we can't ever grab that new thing.
mm.
And that's what I was saying earlier. Like to give someone that space to finally drop everything,
Yeah.
uh, so they can hold something new.
Yeah. And for listeners that are listening right now who feel stuck in old patterns, what's one simple truth they can start holding on to today?
I want to say you're not your failures, but I feel like that would be too easy.
Mm.
Let's see here. Hmm. One simple truth that they can. So repeat that one more time.
So, just one simple truth that they can hold on today, if they're feeling stuck in old
Hmm.
patterns.
If all right, man. I'm sorry, I'm struggling. So,
You're
because I
right.
I want to say you're not your failures,
Yep.
but also I feel like because I don't want to, I know there's some people struggle with the religious aspect of it, but I would say that you have to know who your father is, so to speak. And I don't mean like if you hadn't had one, but you can be adopted into sonship with God.
Mm,
And if he is a perfect father, he's going to love you perfectly and you can trust him with that.
mm,
And I would say pick up some actual truths from the Bible and who like look up what he says about you as a child. If you if you're struggling with identity, if you're struggling with these issues of not knowing who you are, just look at who he says you are as
mm.
his child, and then try to take on that identity.
Yeah. And just on that, Charles, do you have a scripture or a quote that grounds you?
Yes, it's changed throughout the
Mm,
the years of things I've had to grow in, and I feel like it's how he's leading me. But right now, it's Proverbs 9:10, and it says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and
mhm,
knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." And to me, that speaks to reverence of my Holy Father in heaven.
mhm,
And then not knowledge of the Holy One is intimacy. Because what do I do with intimacy? How do I use that? Do I abuse it or do I receive it and respect it and nurture that? It's the same thing in my relationship.
mm,
If I'm not willing to nurture my wife and get to know her and love her properly, any woman would do, right? Like,
mm,
so that's the whole point. If God is who he says he is, that we need to have honor and reverence, but also um, God resists the proud and draws close to the humble.
mhm.
So there's a lot of scripture that really grounds me in in these things to know that um,
Yeah.
I'm not the storm.
Yeah. And just further to that, Charles, do you have a daily practice that keeps you aligned with your truth?
Mhm. Yes, ma'am. So I do a lot of studying, and for me, even just in my journey, I want to know more about the knowledge, right? But not just know more, but have those emotional experiences with.
Mm,
So praise and worship, prayer, meditation, journaling, or even just like getting into my notes, or I'll listen to things on YouTube and just and honestly, the main thing I have when I'm doing all this, the question then, what do you have for me today, God?
mm,
What do you want me to know? What do you want me to learn? How can I grow in this experience? Not just like, you know, what I'm going through and why I'm going through it, or just deliver me, like
mm.
there's a reason for my problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Charles. So, where can
Yes, ma'am.
our listeners connect with you, your podcast, or Crown and Compass Coaching?
Yes, ma'am. So two places. I would say my website right now, because I'm constantly working on it,
Yeah.
crowncompassllc.com. And then also on TikTok, sorry, my son came in here.
You're
It
right.
is the Crown and Compass, at the Crown and Compass. That's where
Hmm.
I'm really getting a lot of growth right now
Hmm.
in building. So, but I have it on all platforms. But if you get my
Yeah.
website, you'll have access to everything. So,
Yeah. Wonderful. I'm sure some of our listeners will be looking you up. And Charles, if you could leave our listeners with one message about love, leadership, and truth, what would that be?
be the example that you want to see,
Mm,
because if I'm a child of God, actual, like real love, truth, and wisdom is going to be an image of Him. So in my journey of love, I need to be that example. In my journey for truth, I need to be that example. And if I can't lean on it or step on it, and it falls out from underneath me, I need to like go back and restep, right? So how we build our foundation is extremely important. But love, truth, and wisdom would be being the example and then moving in that.
Mm, lovely. Well, Charles, thank you for sharing your wisdom and reminding us that what we believe about ourselves shapes everything. You've shown us with faith, healing, and courage we can let go of the lies and step into freedom of truth. So thank you, Charles, for joining us today.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Glad to be here.
You're welcome. And to everyone listening, storms may shake you, but they do not define you. What defines you is love that you carry, the truth you embrace, and the wisdom you live out. This is Positive Vibes with Nicki Dennis. Until next time, keep walking the truth, keep leading with love, and keep shining your light. Sending you all love and positive vibes. Bye for now.